All right, stocks by the numbers, welcome back. Quick update here on the chart of MicroBot Medical, MBOT here on the NASDAQ. Again, this is a surgical robotic company that we were talking about for quite some time back here. Dollar, sub $1. Predicted it was going to have a pretty good 2025. That's exactly when it broke up above $3. Obviously, we dropped back down and we've kind of been bouncing around. But as we see, we did have that breakup to north of about 255 that I was personally looking at. And we almost made it to our top trend line here of about 286. But we happened to stop right there at 264 and then we pulled back. But you can see here that even after a couple of big red days, we broke this fib here of 2.25. But you can see this top trend line, again, this blue and this blue, right? We had the run up and we were in this big triangle that we spoke about. We happened to break out prematurely again. So we're coming down, potentially meeting up with this 20-day and this top trend line here, potentially about 198, right? So slightly $2. We can call it just about $2. So we can drop, another nickel, another dime potentially, meet up there with the fib, the moving average, and then potentially climb back up and out and make our way back up to the 280s. But you can see the volume has been coming in nicely at several points so far throughout 2025. And again, this is the company we're talking about, again, surgical robotics, and they're on the path to, commercialization. And we can see also recently, we spoke about this stock, I want to say about 10 days ago, so we actually knew this update, but I just want to show it again. You can see back on April 10th, MicroBot price target maintained $9 a share by H.C. Wainwright. So again, in general, right, what we spoke about is the fact that they see value there, right? Because people are looking at it, they're saying, wow, stock's 2, they said 9, that's huge. Again, even if they're being aggressive, right? They said 9, maybe it goes to 6, 7, right? Still, in general, they're saying there's value there. And us, obviously, my opinion, I agree with that as well. Spoke in depth about this company in the past. Again, you can go to the channel, you can just type in MBOT, and you'll see a handful of videos and updates pop up, right? So you can go back, you can hear about how I've spoken about the company over the months. And also how I feel about the market cap. Again, market cap right now, 70 million, right? I mean, we can easily double and triple that. As I said, market cap would only be a couple of $100 million, and the stock would be at $5, $6, right? You'd actually still potentially be talking about a cheap situation. So that's why I just think that there's a lot of potential here for MBOT. And again, I know these stocks on the major exchanges, you don't want to see them go below that $1 range, but you can see that we had some life come into it in 2025, seems to be staying up. When the technicals line up, right, you got the traders come in with big volume. We basically, for the most part, are getting positive updates. So that's why I do still like it. I do still like it, not only here in the short term, maybe on a bounce. You can catch it from slightly sub 2 back up to almost 3 for your traders. But also, more importantly, over the long term, I mean, we can easily 10x and still be undervalued, in my opinion, right? That'd be a $700 million market cap. So that's why I think once deals get signed, collabs, orders start to come in, I really do think the sky may be the limit for something like MBOT. But again, that's just my opinion. But just wanted to do a quick technical update and just show you the potential pullback there to that trend line before we bounce and start climbing again. But really, really nice breakout recently on MBOT. And it's actually, it actually held up pretty well, even though, here in these days, the markets were rocky. We had big red days, right? But MBOT just held and just continued to climb. So, it's looking strong right now. We had the retest recently of the 50-day moving average, and you can see we really bounced off of that nicely. So we technically shouldn't retest, but again, I was talking about a slight potential break of $2, and you can see the mid-Bollinger Band curling up now on the daily. It's at 182. So if we do slightly pull back the next day or two, maybe this mid-Bollinger Band will get up to like 188, 190. Fib level, 191. Meet up with the 20-day, right? And then boom, that's where our bounce could be. So again, anything can happen. It can be up tomorrow, but I'm just pointing out that there's a lot of action down there, slightly sub 2, so that might be where they want to take it. You can see the RSI sometimes stays above that 70 benchmark. It happened right when the ball dropped. And it even happened just a couple of days ago. We got up to 70 and we actually went higher and then held really for a day, and then we started to drop the last 2 days. So even looking at it like this, right, if we want to draw our support trend line on the RSI, you can see that, yes, we could potentially drop like another 5-10 points on the RSI, go from 55 down to 45 on the daily, but then it's probably going to bounce and climb back up. And that's why I'm saying like 180 to 190 right there, meet up with all those levels, meet up with the 20-day, that's where the bounce might happen, and then boom, you're going to go back up to the high twos. And also, we said that if we do potentially break up and out, right, the next stop might be like 4 1/3, 4 1/2. So big things could potentially be coming. You know, it could break out on its own on the technical side, but obviously if you had some news, you know, a little catalyst to go along with it, then it could really help take it off. But MACD popped up, started to curl back to the downside. So again, we said we might see a little weakness, but we could see maybe the MACD kind of meet up and potentially get ready to cross to the downside, and then that's where we might bounce and go bullish again, right? But something to keep an eye on for sure. Switch over to the weekly. RSI basically the same, it's at 56.5 on the weekly. Had nice bounces off the mid-Bollinger Band. Mid-Bollinger Band on the weekly, 173, right? So maybe that can get up to 180 over the next week or two, and that's why I'm saying maybe 190, 180, maybe they'll beat it up slightly, bring it down, and then bounce it, right? RSIs will come back down into the 40s. But here on the weekly, again, MACD recently crossed to the upside just about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And it's been holding steady right now. But it does look pretty tight. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. If markets, again, go big red, boom, we have to chunk it down like 10% or something, you may see the meet up and the potential cross back to the downside on the MACD on the weekly. So again, I know it's annoying. You got to keep an eye on all these technicals, and you have to look at the daily, the weekly, the yearly chart. I understand. But, you know, anything worth doing is worth doing right. And, you know, it's like they say, the more you put in, the more you get out, right? So if you just watch like a random video like this and you don't really listen to everything I say, and you listen for like 60 seconds and you kind of convince yourself like, oh yeah, I watched it, and then you just jump in and buy it and it goes down, well, you could say you got what you got back what you put in. But if you really listen to, again, everything that could potentially happen, and you watch it like a hawk, and you see a certain price, and then you time it at that price, and then you catch the bounce, and holy crap, it worked out, again, you got out what you put in. So, you know, you can't overanalyze too much either, but at the same time, anyone who's just looking at something for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then hitting the buy button, again, if you're wrong more than you're right, you're down more than you're up, there's probably a reason for that. But we can see top Bollinger Band was here in the 260s. Stock hit, 264, and then pulled back a little bit. So it may be dancing around here right now because it did just, again, swing from $1 to over $3. So now it's bouncing around. But in my opinion, again, you could potentially come back down here to the high ones. But I do think that the word is spreading. And I do think that we kind of do one of these and just step up and up and up. And soon we'll be back to 3 and potentially see 4. And again, one big announcement and it's gone. In my opinion, one big announcement and it's gone. But we've been speaking about this stock for a while. I'm just glad it's up and actually holding for everyone through this volatility. Global robotic exoskeleton market size expected to reach 30 billion by 2032. Right, we got our... And this was the main goal, apparently, back on April 9th. Shares up 50% that day. Jumped up, broke up to above $2. MBOT says its experimental endovascular robotic system, Liberty, met main goal in the study. System assists doctors on minimally invasive surgeries inside blood vessels for treating aneurysms, blockages, and other vascular issues. Mean difference in radiation exposure between operator and control was 29.8. Okay, negative 29. I apologize. I'm I don't know what that means. Resulting in a mean 92% relative reduction in radiation exposure. Okay, so less exposure to radiation, right? I'm sorry, I don't know the measurements there. Some robotic systems use radiation-based imaging techniques like X-rays or gamma rays. Company says no adverse device events were reported during the study. And that's what caused it to break up and out. So this is why I say, again, every time they did a study, we got positive results as of late, right? Since we started looking at it anyway. Again, H.C. Wainwright comes out, oh, the stock's at 2, we think it's worth 9. Like, wow, that comes out of left field, right? That's a huge bullish price target. So that's why, again, I really do think once we get that commercial approval and we start actually generating revenue, I really do believe this could potentially be a household name in the healthcare, health tech, biotech sector. And the good thing about this is, again, it's an actual, right, surgical robotic device. It's not like you're investing into some random pharma stock where you're just waiting and hoping they get approval, and then you're kind of waiting and hoping that the doctors prescribe it, right? And then you're waiting and hoping that enough people need it so you generate enough revenue to meet the mark, and then you're waiting and hoping that there are no adverse side effects, right? Then you're waiting and hoping that the company doesn't get sued and have to take the product off the shelves, right? So, again, it's healthcare, but it's not biotech, it's not pharma. So that's another reason why I like it. So almost, you could say almost like an ISRG, right? Intuitive Surgical, all the way back near the ground floor as they were bringing themselves to market, right? So you could potentially make a comparison like that. But again, in my opinion, I think it's going to be huge. It is going to be volatile though. So if you get in here at 2, markets drop down and, it comes back down to like low 1s. Again, I just want you to understand the risks involved. But in my opinion, I really do like it. Anyone looking to get in now, I'd keep an eye again on those like 180s, 190s. Watch this trend line. Watch this moving average, those Bollinger Bands. And, I still like it at this price. Obviously, sub 2, I'd like it even more. I personally, full disclosure, own just a handful of shares. Again, even if it runs to 500, it's not going to change my life. Literally a handful of shares I personally own. But I think my cost is like 167 or something. So again, I know you can say like, oh yeah, he probably got in early, he's pumping it up. Again, I'm slightly up on the position, and again, it's a handful of shares. So even if I end up right and it explodes, it's not going to change my life at all. I'm only going to make a few bucks. But I've been all over this stock, again, since about $1. And you can see the breakout is coming. The breakout is happening. And I am still predicting bigger and better things for MBOT. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. So once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.